Hello and welcome to the Ghostly Bear Games video blog. We record our day-to-day meetings as we work on our first game, In Search of a Home. These are unscripted, lightly edited segments from meetings that cover engineering, production, and design. Let us know any topics or questions you might have in our Discord. Thanks for watching.
Okay, well, I'm fine starting wherever, but I assigned myself somehow, I don't know why I did this, to a task to implement cool abilities on something. We haven't determined what yet, but I'm pitching ships that you can trigger, and they do cool things. I think we should come up with some ideas for those abilities that are exciting and fun here. And I will heads up by saying that I think that we don't have enough in our game yet to do this.
I
So,
was on pretty much the same page there. I was trying to think through really like cool abilities that you could do, and I'm like, well, crap. We have morale and food and gonna have system scanning at a very basic, like, hey, I can get some resources. What
yeah,
can I do that's an exciting ability, not just a boring, like, I get some morale or get some
like in
resources from a
roguelike,
planet.
a lot of abilities are built on breaking rules that
Yeah.
are inherent to the game, and I just don't think that our game has a lot of rules to break right now. Like, like when you get a fireball wand, it's cool because you're dealing damage at range, and that matters because there's a grid. But we don't have range. We don't even have bad guys. I mean, we have a number, but the number isn't relative to a different system like a range system. Um, so I don't know. I think we will have uh, things that we want, rules that we want to break at some point in our game. But I guess I just feel like our game right now is way too simple to break rules. The only one that I can really think of is like Insta Scan, where it's like you scan something really quick, but it's not really that exciting.
I think we could do stasis pods to pause the food and morale drain.
And it's just like a temporary thing.
Yeah, it's like I want to pause it until I figure out what I'm going to do. So the majority of my population goes into a stasis pod.
Until I figure out what I'm gonna do. I don't understand.
Yeah, like if I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to lose, I should hit the stasis pod and then jump and see if I can go and just keep jumping until I can find food.
But what's the downside for doing that?
Yeah, what's the downside? Wouldn't you just do that
Your
all the
people
time?
can't, no, they can't do the stuff like work. They can't do any of the work that you're normally doing. Like your installations will not be working, etc.
Oh,
Unless
like
they're fully automated.
the ship can't perform any actions anymore.
Yeah, like if you put almost everyone in stasis pods, you don't have people to work.
Okay. We don't have that concept right now of installations being manned by people. So like a lack of people would like turn off an installation.
No,
We
we
could
don't.
do that.
I mean,
guess
I
I-
wouldn't think that. I don't think we need to make it a system. We could just say, when this special ability happens, most installations don't work while it's on or
Yeah,
something.
like
I don't know.
The ship just can't do things other than jump with you.
Let's brainstorm some more ideas.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to kill this idea. I'm just trying to think about how I would implement it.
Uh,
It might make sense though to tie installations to population, and then
Yeah,
if a
that
ship
totally
ever
makes
runs
sense.
out of population,
Oh, yeah.
we turn off those installations.
Yeah.
And then
although
that,
some of them are going to be automated, I would think.
yeah, like we probably don't want to turn off the jump drive no matter what.
Here's another idea for an ability. A deep core mine thing. Like it's a one shot.
You should call it
You can
deep
have as
core
many
mine
as
thing. We're just gonna call it
yeah,
deep core mine thing.
deep core mine thing. And we'll call it a spider tunneler. Yeah, and you put it on a planet, and it finds extra metals for you that you wouldn't normally be able to harvest.
I mean, that is a one-use ability, kind of like
Yeah,
like
like
if you're at a planet, you can use it as like a super exploit kind of thing to get
hmm
rare metals, basically. Although we don't use rare metals right now, they are a thing that we could collect.
Okay, so this is like a thing you hit while you're doing an explore action or whatever the action we're calling. That's the one that involves getting
I would say
resources.
this would do something. You wouldn't do it in tandem. You would say, I'm doing this instead of normal exploiting. I'd use this ability. Maybe you only have one use of it, because once the spider drill is done, it's done.
Yeah, it melts in the core of the planet. It goes as deep as it can. I don't know. I'm just trying to throw shit
yeah,
out
I mean,
there.
that could just be another ability. Like, there's no reason that can't live on a ship.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I'm okay just like pitching ideas right now. In fact, I like that. I'm just trying to think out how I would implement them while we're pitching them.
How I would
Okay, I'm
implement
making a
something
document.
like that, it would just be a separate ability. We call it.
Let me
whatever.
restate that. I'm not trying to figure out how to implement it technically. I'm
Okay.
trying to think about, I guess, what the player experience is for that ability.
You would
Okay.
select a ship, like always.
Right.
You would have on a ship, you should have a list of abilities that can be somehow, and we can make them look however the buttons or whatever look however we want them to look, but let's say they're little squares, and it has all the different abilities, and you mouse it, and it's like, oh, this is the scan ability, this is the exploit ability, it's, different things there, and then you have this, like, maybe it's colored differently, or has a little number on the button that says, like, 1, and it's like a spider bot looking icon. You select that ability, select the planet you want to use it on, and your ship goes and does that action.
So is there a reason I wouldn't just do this immediately as soon as I have the button?
Yeah, so we should think about when and why. I think probably you shouldn't do it immediately because if it's going to be based on the planet type, right? So if you scan a planet and it has very little,
This
then
isn't gonna
probably
give you
that's a bad planet
yeah.
to do.
So how
when
about
do you
like
wanna use it?
something that's like it doubles the exploit value of a place?
Yeah, it would be something like
Like
that.
that.
It would take basically. I think what it would wind up doing is re-roll the planet and add it to itself. Like whatever's on the planet, re-roll again and add it to itself.
Oh,
So,
I
like-
see what you're saying.
Yeah, so
it's
all
like
So-
it might have gas and also metal now because you added the new
Yeah,
reroll.
something like that.
It found more stuff, basically. There's more stuff.
Yeah, if you hit a planet and you're like, this is a payload planet and I'm happy to do it here, then you do it. If you want to wait, it's kind of
Yeah.
gambling.
And then maybe it has a cost associated with it.
I think it should be percentage based on the planet then, right? Like it should be related to the resources of the planet.
Yeah,
Make
yeah,
it
that's
that.
what I'm. That's what I'm
I
saying.
thought,
Like,
okay, I thought you meant by reroll. You meant like reroll the whole planet.
No, he's talking about do another roll
Meaning-
and add that
meaning-
on top.
exactly. So the planet keeps what it has, and then you also roll for the planet again.
Yeah, and I'm saying I don't think that makes sense because if we do it separate from the core resource, there's no reason not to just do it on any given planet.
I see what you're saying.
Whereas if you do it like it's percentage based, then like you might use it on a planet that's not good if you're desperate for metal. You might use it on a planet that's really good because you found the planet, the right one, and you're going to get a huge boost out of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, possibly.
that seems like it gives you that interesting tension of when to use it.
And I think a
I also-
cost associated with using it is probably there. Like it costs, like normally it doesn't matter to use fuel on scanning or exploiting, but this thing uses fuel to shoot it down to the planet, so you have to give it some fuel to so which deters you from like, I'm going to use this immediately. It's like, oh, I should be saving this one.
Spider drill costs fuel,
Oh, where are you writing
increases-
this?
yield gain in my notepad.
I have a document. I'll share the link.
Yeah,
Oh,
like that
okay.
document.
Not add
Do we
people.
have a concept of scanning for like different solar systems
Not
yet?
yet.
Okay.
That's not.
But we will.
We will eventually have that.
Okay.
We don't have a concept of ship captains or dignitaries right now.
Yeah.
We don't have a concept of.
But I mean, will we buy itch.io?
That's a good question. More than just a name and a picture? Probably not.
I don't think they're in release 3.
Yeah,
really?
we should look at whatever's in release 3. That's what we get before.
Yeah.
release, and that's already going to be super hard pressed to get all that in for its release.
Food. What can we do with food?
Yeah, the Dignitary and Faction update is currently release 7.
Or
my
those
gosh.
aren't specific. That's not specifically anything after release 4 isn't in any specific order. That's just where you're
That's
supposed
not
to.
true.
Really?
Carl both said that he put them in an order and that he expected us to reorder them if we thought they should be in a different order.
So that's where I'm saying they're not in a specific order yet.
They are. He said he put them in an order and he wants us to change it if we don't agree with it.
Okay, I haven't gone in and looked at because I didn't even look at to change it. They're arbitrary right now because I don't think anyone's gone in and made any really strong thoughts on what the order should be.
Okay, so it seems by release 3 we should. Because it wants us to create. I want my unique galaxy created at game start. As a player, I want the celestial bodies I encounter in systems to feel diverse and have depth so that every system feels unique and worth exploring.
But that is that is
two.
different than the long range scanning. That has nothing to do with the long range
fuck,
scanning.
you're right.
Oh, I thought you were talking about dignitaries.
Oh, dignitaries
I
too.
misunderstood.
Dignitaries are like the whole like dignitary system, and
Yeah.
the whole thing is later.
Well, I mean, I guess the long range scanning is essentially an action that would be associated with the larger galaxy map and solar system.
Also, like, we can change these. If
Yeah.
there's something in here that's less important than long range scanning and you can make a good argument for it, there's no reason we have to do our 21. Actually, there is probably. But
I just mean,
yeah,
I
the
feel like we
21.
really-
Yeah, that one is.
Yeah, I feel like we really need to, because that's part of the thing of like, what do I do immediately when I get into a system? I explore the system, I explore where I need to go next, and hopefully those two should be intertwined, right? They should inform each other.
I would agree,
That's the.
but I don't.
I think that also opens up to a lot more. I don't know, things to actually do.
Totally agree.
Well, what would we kill then?
Yeah,
Metrics.
possibly.
I'm just kidding. I personally don't think Bones files are that important.
At the moment, probably not.
Really?
I could actually say
didn't think
I
so.
could say that those could. There's a remnants update. If all bones files would go out to that. But then there's the scanning update. What was the scanning update? Wasn't that long range scanning?
Probably.
Are you?
I think the scanning
yeah, it is.
update comes after whatever update we do where we actually build systems that make sense. And I think that kind of makes sense also because, like, how do we think about... Well, I don't know. We could do it either way. But we
I
need
feel
to
like this
figure
just-
out the structure of the solar systems to be able to understand the structure of the jumps, I think.
Kind of. I think the first thing that is like probably the most basic version of, okay, I get into a solar system. I need to know where I'm going to jump to next. I need to start scanning. Would less be like showing a map or anything, that you just put something on it to start doing this, and then you would even just essentially get a list of places you could jump to. However, saying like, oh, you can jump to a white dwarf. There's a white dwarf system. There's a red dwarf system. There is a anomalous system that as you scan, you could fill that list a little bit, and you can choose to go to one, and maybe those descriptors help you know which would be at what.
Sorry, I had to massively detour. But George is writing really cool ideas in here. These are all really cool.
Yay.
So regarding these ideas, and I'm reading over them and I'm thinking like, what would be cool with these? It would be cool to find these on planets and have them be one-use abilities.
Yeah,
And I could
that's
use them
what,
at
like
any time.
ammo stuff is like that.
Ammo stuff?
Anything
Yeah,
that
anything
says
that says ammo.
is effectively a one-time use thing or a two-time, like whatever usage. It has limited ammo.
I think the bacteria would be cool this way. Like imagine like you get the bacteria and it's like it converts 100 metal into food or something, whatever the conversion is, but you only get to do it once in the game, and you need to have enough of the thing, and you
Yeah.
want to do it at the right time.
And actually,
So
that's
then
the
it
thing you
becomes kind
find,
of
and that's actually one that's like, oh, I found this bacteria on a planet.
exactly. Your scientists found it. They put it in a cool container that stasis is it, and they're ready to pop it
You're
out whenever
weaponizing
you're
it,
good.
weaponizing alien life.
That's badass.
But yeah, we're getting sidetracked.
What do you do when you you commit the psychosuppressor, and then what do you do to be an asshole?
Well, you can use it like if you get an event that's about to do a horrible morale hit, you can use your psychic suppressor and then just take the morale hit.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when they pop back up, you get an immediate like minus to what your current status was.
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
because yeah,
I don't
you
know.
use this thing. Actually, no. See, this would be one that would be great if you use psychic suppressor. It did its thing when they pop back up, but it puts a tag on the ship or whatever you used it on. That's like, oh, you use this thing, and now an event can show up later about like since you use psychic suppressors.
Epic rock.
You find a cool rock on a planet and you put it on a ship. And it,
I want to see the description of this ability because epic rock sounds a lot like Strange Mountain. Whoa, that is an epic rock. Holy
Told ya.
shit. Okay, I'm convinced.
jury.
I like that one. That one sounds cool as fuck. See, I didn't think we could break rules in cool ways, and George proved me wrong. That's a cool way to break a rule.
Yay, breaking rules.
God, imagine you get an epic rock and you put it on a ship and then you do the jump and then it like blows up. I would be so upset. That would be like, that's just like Ares dying in Final Fantasy VII.
The most ridiculous thing with Eris dying in 7 when I was doing that game. So, I mean, I played 7 without any spoilers whatsoever. Had the game before I ever actually owned a PlayStation. Like, about a month before I could save up the money from my job to buy the PlayStation. If I played through that game, I
Ooh, better.
spent so much time leveling Eris up as my healer, and like I had all the shit for her, and then she died, and I was so pissed. One, she died. That was like, oh my god, unexpected. But also from mechanics being going, fuck, my healer's dead. What do I do? I was so upset. Unethical calculus.
Chance for ships to disappear into the void.
That's what happens when you mess with quantum jump crap.
Do you get Ravagers from those ships coming back and haunting you later?
I don't
Hell
know.
yes. Oh shit, it's the warp from Warhammer 40k. We've done it.
It totally
Where are the Chaos
is.
Gods? Where are the Chaos Gods?
Who knows? Maybe you'll summon a Chaos God from jumping too much. Oh my god. That's right. Like, should just call it like a warp
Yeah.
jump like
let me talk
augmentation,
to
and
you
you're just
about-
like shit.
I'll talk to you guys about world building in a second. And we'll see whether or not this flies with you guys, and then we can try to convince Carl to make our universe a little less dead.
Let's do it now because maybe it will help us come up with cool ideas like
Alright.
quantum jump crap.
Alright, cool. Well, here we go. Here's what I've written so far. Alright. So remember how we talked about the draft phase?
Yeah.
Alright, I just wanted to set this up because I think that this helps establish the narrative ties for everything else. So I was like, we'll start at the beginning. Who are you, and why do you need to go? That's a pretty important reason to even have this game. So the game starts off in our solar system. It's many years and civilizations past our time, but it is our solar system. So capital S is for both of those things. Earth, Mars, and Titan are the 3 colonized planetoids in our system. But each planet is essentially its own government and its own society. Mars is where it's really at. Turns out Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos did it. They escaped with the billionaires, and Earth was left to rot away. Titan exists as essentially the exploration and gas platform. It's it's used as a hub to take resources from elsewhere in the solar system. And Earth is in decline. Like it's a shithole. No one wants to live there. Everyone that got left there is like basically it's the survivors of the climate catastrophe that's going to hit our planet at some point. All right, so we start you off there. It's your ship overlooking a dying Earth, and this is it. You have your flagship, whatever spawned ships that you start off with, and it's going to teach you the mechanics of how you actually search for things at the like solar system level. So you're going to find resources. You're going to essentially wait for more survivors, and that'll be the first calculus of like how much time do I have left? How much more time do I want to wait for stragglers? How much time do I want to spend searching the debris above Earth? And then it's about following a hint of an unknown entity saying, "Hey, well, we have a new technology. We're going to give you this warp drive or this jump drive, and you need to go out and explore and find a new homeworld." And then on the way there, it's about convincing people to secede from Mars and Titan to join you to find a better, like, hope for your future, where you're not ruled by a technocracy, where you're not just a bunch of privateers, like, out in the asteroid belt, you know, dying in accidents, and you're not ruled by Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk's descendants.
Earth didn't have the jump drive before this moment.
Correct. This is it. This is the first time you've ever heard of this jump drive. You actually don't even know if it's true, but you are going to go in and search for this because Earth is screwed. This is it. This is the last like push out of Earth's system.
I don't expect that you've ever read any of the Starfinder stuff, have you?
Mm-mm.
They have a similar, like, they hand wave jump drives, basically. No one in the universe can remember, like, everyone just awoke. There's like a 300-year gap of galactic history. No one knows no living being civilization knows what happened in that gap. But they all came out of it, and all civilizations had jump drives afterwards.
Well, this is kind of the fun thing. That's why that's going to be one of the first mysteries of like the game, right? Who gave you the jump drive is going to be something that I think we can seed as you're exploring the galaxy. Of like, who was it? Was it Mars? Like, was it someone from Mars? Was it Titan? Was it a higher being? Was it aliens? Whatever it was, I think that's part of like, you know, just the fluff that we can add to an otherwise empty and lifeless galaxy. Should be something that we seed through other events and narrative points and discussions with captains as to how this happened or like where this technology came from. And so, I mean, I'm going to try to keep to what Carl wanted with this. I'm describing this galaxy as like a really old desert where things have come before, and it's quite clear there have been other expeditions through it. There have been tracks. There are still, you know, it's still a place that has been around for a long time, and you're going to find that debris. You're going to find clues pointing to alien civilizations and ancient ruins, and you know essentially the bones files of other players' explorations through it.
So there are going to be alien civilizations?
I think that there will be remnants of them, but I don't think you're going to find
sentient. I doubt you'll find sentient life. Still alive.
Yeah, but you will probably find early Earth planets, right, of non-sentient creatures. Or like you'll find bacteria, and that'll suck for you. Right? Like you're gonna find crazy shit in this universe, just like we continue to find like water on our moon and, you know, weird shit on Titan. So things like that. So I think it won't be completely barren of life, but it won't be anything like it won't be anything like Mass Effect where you're meeting humanoids that can talk to you and shit like that.
But space whales.
Oh yes.
We're definitely having space whales. Fuck
okay,
yeah.
good.
They can jump.
Thank
That's
God.
actually who gave you the jump, right? Jump drives?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
That's Star
Maybe
Wars
you got-
canon now.
Yeah.
You think I'm joking? I'm not joking.
Oh, really? Is
You've
it
seen
space whales?
It's in Rebels. That's where jump technology came from. The space whales can jump, have natural abilities to use hyperspace, and then has been alluded to how people figured out how to use hyperspace.
Ah, well, you know what? We're taking that. We're just gonna have space whales.
Yep.
Space whales are just like in Slay the Spire, where you have Buddy Whale at the start of it. We have space whales. Um, but yeah, anyways, then there's the others. So essentially, there's the backer as a question mark. There are clues pointing somewhere, and this will be to not non-habitable worlds, but interesting subplots that we can write to that point you in weird areas to jump to that may or may not have rewards at the end or at the end for you. That is a fucking ugly space whale.
Yes, it is.
Um, and then let's see what else. Uh, Oh, and then the others will be any reference to other exploratory fleets, which may have gone awry. It feels like other people have been there before. There may be solar systems that have obviously been mined, or like someone else has come here. Things like
Yeah.
that. You'll stumble upon um, Mars and Titan scouts, maybe. I don't know. I think if we wanted a concept of battle, we could probably have it there, like actual combat. But of course, that comes later. Just leaving it open there.
My
Um,
oh, you're so okay.
yeah.
My first feedback is actually disconnect it from our solar system.
Disconnected from our solar system.
We can make whatever. I like the idea of there's you and other planets, but not because we don't. Whenever you start saying, "Hey, this is Earth and Mars in the Milky Way galaxy," and things like that, there could be weird things about like, well, things aren't aligned. Is Alpha Centauri something you can go to? Is every game like you start getting those scientific questions in of like, oh, this doesn't look right, or this isn't how the universe we know it exists. And then also for the fact that we could theoretically that starting area where you're waiting for people is what I would imagine the first one or two levels of a dungeon in like a roguelike. And you want those to be still have somewhat variation each time of like what they might look like. You might have, who knows, maybe you'll start it off and you have your homeworld planet and there's like 3 other habitable planets in the solar system, or only one big one, or I just feel like we can have more variation right at the beginning there, and then
Okay.
we hold ourselves away from people nitpicking it for dumb reasons. You can hand wave away, going like, "No, this is our own solar system. This is our own made up thing." Like Battlestar Galactica, they have the 13 colonies. I mean, and they eventually get to our solar system. Now that would be fun if Earth was one thing you can jump into is effectively our solar system at one point.
Huh. That's actually the angle.
It could be. I mean, what if that was one that would be a hilarious Easter egg. If that was at one, not all the time, just sometimes that we could say that that's you've come across it and you're like, hey, that's a blue planet, third from the sun. I think that would be my only. I like the general idea of that setup.
I feel like there needs to be a stronger push out than just like there's a place that's dying. I mean, it's probably okay, but it's just not very exciting.
I actually feel like we can gloss over most of this anyway in the short term. Like I don't think that it needs to necessarily have a strong lore with it. But it's good to get it started.
Oh, I think it's pretty important because I think I think it helps a lot with understanding like what the events might be and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like we want
it
our
frames
events to...
everything else for us for events, and like
Yeah.
why it gives the player a reason to be like, why did I leave in the first place, right? It's like the initial motivation.
And why do I care?
Yeah, like what is the story? And I
think
mean,
I'm
we're not going to surface all of this to players immediately, but we do want there to be, like the context of why they're doing anything, right? And it just makes it way easier for us to give them a set of early decisions that make sense, and then while also onboarding them to what they're supposed to click, and why are they, what are the ships that they're using, why are they building up resources. But yeah, okay. Add a stronger conflict that pushes them out of the solar system.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree there. Like, just something I definitely feel like the slow. I mean, I still. How do I say this? I feel like for now we just need to come up with one big exciting way that starts the story. In the future, I would like it that there's different ways that the story starts, and those can be subtle of more. You could have the one like this where it was a slower collapse and people have moved to different areas, and that is a changes up how the game actually plays over the course, over your journey because of how that's
Sure.
started. But for
I just,
right now, it should be
I
something
just think
big.
you need something intense because you want to do the drafting. Like you guys have talked about doing the drafting. Like, why am I taking this ship instead of this ship?
Yeah.
I mean, the easiest reason is time pressure. I can't get all of them. I'm taking these three.
Yeah.
If we can come up with another reason to say that I'm taking these three, then I guess we could go with that. But it just seems easier to me if there's a bunch of explosions behind me and I'm like, come on, Jack, like that would be my and it sounds really political, sort of like The Expanse, and I dig that
Yeah.
as an opening.
Is that a? Have you read those books?
I've only watched the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only watched the show too.
I highly recommend the books. The show is good. Actually, it does a decently good job of the books. But the books are incredible. I read 5 of them, so yeah, they're about 1,000 pages each, and I read 5 of them in a month. I just couldn't stop. They're like action movies, basically, in book form. But highly recommend. There's a lot more politics in the books as well. Or they get into a lot more politics as time goes on.
So things that I can imagine, just like weird ideas coming out of this that would be cool, would be, this idea of who is giving us this drive and what we don't understand the drive. It would be cool if sometimes when you jumped, you didn't go where you thought you were going, and you went to something that was very surreal. I don't even know how to describe it, but that would be cool.
The warp.
Yeah.
Yeah, like. Yeah,
or whatever we want to call it. I do agree that would be
warp for a second.
Yeah.
You get those brief moments where you're like touching something that's bigger than the scope of the game, but they're really rare. That sounds cool.
What was the darkest dungeon had those weird curios that you touched and they would do and you're like, you're like, don't touch those. That's gonna
sometimes
be
you set fire to the shrine to the I forgot what its name was, but then it would teleport you into a random boss conflict with that multi-tentacled, multi-eyed Cthulhian horror, and then you immediately. Yeah, that.
I can't remember the name of it. You won't get wiped. You just gotta have the right party.
No, I've survived it once, and then also had it just completely wreck me other times because
I hate when the collector shows up. That guy's an asshole.
Oh yeah, the collector.
He's like the death of so many level 1 parties.
Yep.
You're like, oh shit, okay, I've lost this run. Well, I did that with in the first run of my game. I think I set fire to that thing because I was like, oh, it's an evil shrine. If I set fire to it, it'd be good for me. And then I got teleported to that guy, and I was like, okay, I think I understand what kind of game Darkest Dungeon is now. Yeah.
I think it would be cool if we had recurring figures like that too in our game, especially ones that lead hinting towards whatever the heck is the mystery.
Yeah, I agree. Recurring characters. I'm just gonna put the warp and we'll just put entities of the warp. Recurring entities.
That seems like a cool way to bring in
cool be chaos gods, but
But maybe they're not always. Maybe there's some good ones, there's some bad ones, there's some just neutral ones. Yeah, we'll just play around with it.
Q.
Yeah, totally could be Q.